Everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Or if it's an evening, I hope you're having a fantastic evening. I hope it gets even better, you know. Do something you love. If you have a few free moments in your time throughout your day or your night, you got a few moments alone to hang out with yourself, rock out to some music, study something. It's worth it. And I think we should all do it. Now, as I'm waking up, and I've now got a few moments alone, they've all gone for their family photos. Thought I'd read to you a little bit more in the Tao. And I've left off to do verse 23. And I'll try and read a couple verses. And then I'll edit the title after this and reflect, what verses are actually done in this. I'd been doing each video separately just because I think the Tao deserves each verse in its own separate passage, but I'm learning, is a lot easier to do a live video. It uploads a lot quicker, processes a lot quicker, and I'm able to use a higher resolution on my phone. I think it's really important for all of us to read material like this. It's all of these different things are enlightened materials, and that's not something that people take time out of their day for. Typically in life, you get some downtime and you just want to sit in front of the TV and watch something mindless instead of watching something mindless and making your brain process really unuseful information. You can actually sit down and watch something like this show and get your brain to wrap around higher things. So what I really like so far about the Tao, and I've read it, quite a few times. I'll keep it with me the rest of my life if I can, if I need to get another copy and another copy, whatever. Like I said, the Tao, the Gita, and my Masonic Bible, plus one of the books my coach gave me when I was, made a Master Mason. They're books I'd like to carry with me the rest of my life, and I'd like to just keep learning from every day. Now, I know one of the people that I kind of look to, because there's a few, like I've mentioned, like Wayne Dyer, and I'm all about, like, Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton, and, I'm cool with, like, Deepak and Dalai Lama, and so, I mean, they're kind of like, and Jason Becker. Even though he's not really like a spiritual guru, he's a guitar guru. He is kind of like a spiritual guru for me. He does, surround himself with guitars, and there's some pictures around his room. So between him and Wayne, that's, a big reason on why I want to surround my whole house, not just in Buddha statues, but because I've collected a bunch of those and I want a whole bunch more. But all kinds of religious materials, and I say religious, but we know it's like enlightened materials, and photos or sketches or whatever of enlightened people, because it's the path I want to walk in life. I don't want to be just a simple human being that isn't really going anywhere spiritually. So, in trying to learn more, my quest for knowledge, quest for light, light being another way of saying, knowledge in a divine sense. These are ways I like to spend a lot of my day or night. And I think it really helps. Um, I don't really watch much TV anymore that isn't positive. I've been kind of ruling out a lot of negative things coming at me, like TV, film and TV. I try not to watch a whole lot of like mindless garbage anymore. That includes some of my shows that I used to really like. Um, because as I began wanting to be a better person, living a better path, growing spiritually, that kind of thing, I began noticing around me that even with things that I was watching, not a lot of it is positive. More often than not, some of the shows that I've been watching, over the last over a decade, they're not positive in any way, shape, or form, and they are belittling to the people in the show, be it like on a animated level or on a real life human level, because you have like cartoons versus regular people on TV, right? And they're just awful influences. It's all a form of negativity, and really that doesn't help. It just doesn't get you anywhere. And while I'm alive, I want to be better than I was the day before. With the music, I'm still taking moments to rock out to some of the favorite music I've had in my life. Some of them aren't really the greatest words coming at me, but they still give me a sense of pleasure listening to. Like, for an example, in because I like hair metal and heavy metal from the 80s, and those were around in the 70s, and 90s and so on. I'm all about metal, dude. um, I try not to listen to the real negative things. Try not to listen to depressive things, but at the same time there's moments where something will come on and it's real dark. Morbid Angel or Slayer or something, versus something positive like let's walk down the yellow brick road, shiny happy people holding hands. I never really got into, in my lifetime, music that was more of I want to hold your hand. I got more into music like I'm gonna force you at gunpoint to eat me alive. That was Wasp. Love Wasp. I have yet to see them in concert. Morbid Angel. Perfect example. I love the band Morbid Angel. And I will say now that they've kind of had their little separations, hopefully for a moment, and it won't last forever, because I love Morbid Angel. Um, I'll just say my favorite song from Morbid Angel, but really one of my first favorite songs from Morbid Angel, God of Emptiness. Well, that's not really like shiny happy people holding hands. You see what I mean? The song itself, God of Emptiness, is a perfect example. It still makes me feel good. I still rock out to it. Though at the same time, I realize that's not something like, the Beatles or B-52s, Shiny Happy People, or REM, like, come on. I try not to surround myself too with anything that's not dark, but still negative. But music is still an issue with me. You know, I'm always going to be a metalhead. I've been a metalhead my whole life. You know, I grew up in a household where both of my parents, really liked music. You know, I've been able to bond a little more with my dad, you know, just because, like, he went to see Black Sabbath. And he told me when I think it was before the show, because I know we talked throughout the whole period of when I went to see Black Sabbath and afterwards and so on. But he told me when he was younger, he got to see on the same bill, and I don't really know if I can verify that, you know what I mean? Um, but he, you know, told me he got to see Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. And how amazing would that be? But there too, when it comes to enlightenment, is also a really good example. Led Zeppelin versus Black Sabbath. My dad and I, we were more Black Sabbath. That's where I was in my head all throughout my life. Now, I'm not saying a lot of heavy metal is all dark. I'm a huge fan of Striper. I think my favorite song from Striper is In God We Trust. 'Cause it's heavy. And I'm a guitar player, and that's in line of the kind of guitar playing that I like, instead of, or versus somebody like, I don't know, Les Paul. I think Les Paul is amazing. I've watched a lot of the Les Paul shows, you know, and B.B. King, you know, great examples of guitar players, but I like it metal. So I am trying to be better. I'm trying to walk a better path. Trying to watch which influences I have in and around my life. Trying to weed out all the negativity in my life. Even in the forms of media. You know, what I watch and what I hear and what I read. I think ultimately it'll just help me on my way to being a better person. So without further ado, which totally flashes in my head is Kajagoogoo. I've been watching Bands Reunited on YouTube. I love the 80s. Really love the 80s. But let's read verse 23. And I know I'm already just now starting this and I'm over 13 in. So I want to keep this a little short. I don't really know how long the house is going to be gone. You know, I mean, they only went for a family photo and they just left a moment ago. Having a cup of coffee, have some with me. And I'm going to try and cover a couple of verses if I can. You know, yeah. So I'll try and keep my comments short. But at the same time, like, I would like to share with you my thoughts on my interpretations of things that I can translate into my life. Like I do. So hopefully along the way, if somebody out there sees or hears, knows this, and you're like, well, wait a minute, that's not actually what that's supposed to mean, tell me. And I know I asked in the last video, what is the most enlightened piece of material that you've ever read? Can I read it? Because I'd really like to. If it's something that I have yet to read, I'd really like to read it. So, verse 23. To talk little is natural. Fierce winds do not blow all morning. A downpour of rain does not last all day. They haven't been to upstate New York. Even out in LA, I've been in moments where it rains more than a day, non-stop. Go figure. Who does this? Heaven and earth. But these are exaggerated, forced efforts, and that is why they cannot be sustained. If heaven and earth cannot sustain a forced action, how much less is man able to do? Good point. Those who follow the way, or the Tao, become one with the way, hopefully. Those who follow goodness become one with goodness. I believe that to be true. I also believe, because you know I'm real big on my man, Wayne Dyer. And when he's said before, you look at the word good, it's just one extra O. Good is a longer word for God. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. It's true. Those who stay, whoops, book's too far away. I'm getting older. Those who stray from the way and goodness become one with failure. I don't really know about that, but I kind of see what they're saying, and really what if you flash back into what I've said at the beginning, I mean, yeah, you see what they're talking about. If you conform to the way, its power flows through you. Hopefully. Your actions become those of nature, your ways those of heaven. You're walking a God-realized life. Watch your influences around you. Open yourself to the Tao and trust your natural responses. Then everything will fall into place. Now, if you open yourself up to the Tao, you're understanding that there's more to the way of the world and the universe and how things work and its creation and its place and your place within this specific time. And that you are not here for millions of years. You know, like, your time is brief, here while trapped in the shell called a human body. Trusting in your natural responses and your natural resources within you. Opening yourself up to the Tao and remaining on your path of goodness, you know, then you can actually trust the things that come to you from Source, because if you listen around to other people, you know, like Abraham Hicks or Wayne or, you know, any of the good ones. And I do listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks too. Now, I've yet to really sit down and have a moment to listen to all the Seth tapes and everything, but I'm going to. I've started bits and pieces, you know, of listening, but one thing leads to another. My battery will die or something, and I'll finish when I can. But I like this one. I think this is a really good verse. Now, the 24th verse. If you stand on a tiptoe, you cannot stand firmly. If you take long steps, you cannot walk far. Showing off does not reveal enlightenment. Boasting will not produce accomplishment. He who is self-righteous is not respected. He who brags will not endure. Now there's another two little pieces here in this particular verse. But I just wanted to go back and say boasting, showing off does not reveal enlightenment. You're right. Boasting will not produce accomplishments, and he who is self-righteous is not respected. For me and myself, I try to live this life of wanting to be a better person than I was the day before. I am trying not to be one who actively jumps into conversations when they're all negative or whatever. I'll sit down and listen to people, and I try to be one of those that says what I mean and means what I say, But it says he who is self-righteous is not respected. I also know that when you try to put yourself on the path where you flow like water, those around you that aren't really doing that and that really want to pretend that much, those that they're talking about with, boasting and showing off and everything with enlightenment and what they've learned and you don't know nothing, I think they're the ones that don't respect you. I think it's those that they realize you're actually on a path to being a better person than they are. And that's a problem for them. And they're going to let you know it. Now, continuing on, it says, all these ways of acting are odious, distasteful, or odious. They are superfluous excesses. Superfluous. Let me just say it again because I'm waking up here. Superfluous. When I first learned that word, and I didn't learn that word until I came to Freemasonry, I laughed so hard with my coach. I didn't even know what it meant. I was having, issues with pronouncing it. I'm like, I've never seen this word before. What? So each time I see or hear that word, it just flashes me over to Masonry. They are like a pain in the stomach, a tumor in the body. I've got one of those in my foot. It hurts. You're supposed to be able to use the power of your mind to make tumors go away. God help me, man. I don't want to have my foot cut open and spread apart like you can see if you Google images of, God, man. That's gonna suck. I'd rather just own it's gone. My way into having it gone, When walking the path of the Tao, this is the very stuff that must be uprooted, thrown out, and left behind. Haven't I just been saying all this, but not in such a cute, poetic way? But I also want to say, because I just said it that way, the Tao, along with some of the other pieces of enlightenment or religious materials that are out there in various religions, you know what I mean? A lot of them are just poetry in motion that you translate and break down and have your own interpretations on. And they can be translated into the most amazing, powerful things. But unless they actually tell you flat out what they're telling you they want you to think this means, you're going to have your own opinion. And whether it's good or bad, hopefully it's a decent one, I mean, come on, man. Nobody really knows what these people meant because you can't go back in time and ask questions. I can't go back and ask Lasso, hey, dude, seriously? Talk with me, get to know me and where my head's at and everything, and then help me try and apply all of this, like, to myself and my life and my career. But yet understand at the same time, we live in a day and age where I'm supposed to promote what I do. Like I was saying to my cousin last night, like with what I do, Lao Tzu was saying, forget about things at the end of the day and don't, kind of keep going on or bragging about them or whatever, right? But yet in film, you do a project and at the end of the day, that's not done. You promote it, you end up having moments with carpet moments and interviews and awards and all of that, which are like later on down the road from that project you did, and it wasn't over at the end of the day, you know. So I'm wondering how he would answer me, because I don't think I'm on the wrong track in life, and I don't think that I'm being a pain in the butt by wanting to know what would he really say about acting, because this is supposed to translate even too, but yet some of the verses here, like I've covered before, I've got some issues with. But I understand what this is all saying, or my interpretations of. So 25. This one's a little longer. This is verse 25, the 25th verse. There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. And I wonder why. Why didn't he call it something else? Why did I call this show God Bless Freemasonry? Well, I've got pieces of why, if you flip back a couple of videos. It says, I call it great. Great is boundless. Boundless is eternally flowing, ever flowing. It is constantly returning. Therefore, the way is great. Heaven is great. Earth is great. People are great. Thus, to know humanity, understand earth. To know earth, understand heaven. To know heaven, understand the way. To know the way, understand the great within yourself. That's a nice roundabout way of elaborating on I am that I am. I think if you were to ask someone back then, what does I am that I am mean? Maybe he would have taken a moment to say this. Maybe that's why this verse came about. Who knows, dude? And I'm not going to sit here and go back and date timelines for it now, writing them down and be like, well, I think this one was before this one or whatever. That's not the point. With me, and I'll do it a lot, and you'll see it a lot, I don't really look at timelines. Even though I know their timeline and I understand and everything, I don't really look at timeline, let's say, between the Tao and the Bible itself, right? Which one was written first and blah, blah, blah. I look at it more as in, these are pieces here of enlightenment. And that's any time. "26. The heavy is the root of the light. The still is the master of unrest. Realizing this, the successful person is poised and centered in the midst of all activities. Although surrounded by opulence, he is not swayed." Or letting ego go to your head. Ego is just another way of saying, in Wayne's words, edge God out. That's not what I want to do. "Why should the lord of the country flit about like a fool? If you let yourself be blown to and fro, you lose touch with your root. To be restless is to lose one's self-mastery." Not much you can say on that. 27. The knower of the truth travels without leaving a trace, speaks without causing harm, gives without keeping an account. The door he shuts, though having no lock, cannot be opened. The knot he ties, though using no cord, cannot be undone. That's my bond to my brothers. I really hope I can do some sense of good with this. Because that bond I have, this tie I have, means the world to me. Once again, pause. God bless Freemasonry. Be wise and help all beings impartially, abandoning none. Waste no opportunities. This is called following the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If the teacher is not respected and the student not cared for, confusion will arise. However clever one is, this is the great secret. "28. Knowing the strength of man, but keep a woman's care. Be a valley under heaven. If you do, the constant virtue will not fade away. One will become like a child again. Knowing the white, keep to the black. And be the pattern of the world. To be the pattern of the world is to move constantly in the path of virtue, without erring a single step, and to return again to the infinite. God bless Freemasonry." And this isn't even Masonic material. "One who understands splendor while holding to humility acts in accord with eternal power. To be the fountain of the world is to live the abundant life of virtue. When the uniformed is formed into objects, its original qualities are lost. If you preserve your original qualities, you can govern anything. Truly, the best governor governs least." Well, if that part's not like a rough ashlar and perfect ashlar. And I can't really ask. Obviously, I can't go back in time and ask. But I would like to know what Lao Tzu thought of Masonry. I would like to know if some of these things that are really Masonic, little pieces like I just said, I wonder if he was influenced by someone who was a Mason or something, you know? I mean, like, this is 3,000 years ago, or just short of 3,000 years ago now, that Lao Tzu done this. And while the name Freemason, historically wasn't about at that point, um, or it was. I'm like trying to think back in the timeline that I just read out loud yesterday, you know what I mean? But I'm like, this goes back to the very beginning. It's time memorial. It goes back all the way in the beginning, even though it's called under different names at that point, and then leading up to being called and so on. I wonder a lot about this man and what he would think and have to say about Freemasonry. And then also what he would have to think and say about people like me who are in entertainment. And then also what he would say to me specifically. Because I'm not really like a lot of people in entertainment or anywhere in the world. I mean, I'm like my own self, but at the same time, like, I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry over the years, and I'm not like a lot of them. I really think there's only a couple of people that I have connected with because we're a lot alike, or that we have the same backgrounds or whatever, life history and influences. 29. Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. Pausing right there. Do you really think you could? Let's say you were given the title and the responsibilities that God is and has to do and perform. So you know what I'm getting at, right? Do you really think you could do better? Do you think your life should be viewed as a prerequisite for that? And do you think you've earned enough credits? I don't think I have. I'm trying to be better than I was the day before. But I still think when it comes to being human versus heavenly, I got a long way to go. So I'm trying to walk a better path. Not so that I can take over when I get there, that's dumb. But I want to know a lot of answers to questions that I had from when I was a kid and I had my accident. And that's why I'm reading these, because that's all I have. I think in the end of my days, at the end of my life, I think I'll get closer to understanding why things have happened in me and, in my life. And I also think when it comes to that, I do believe sometimes that good things happen to bad people, like I've said. Oh, wait. Bad thing. Yeah, both ways even. Sorry, I'm so not awake. I also think that, bad things do happen to good people, like I've said. And the other way I just said, I think in a lot of ways the, expression nice guys finish last is kind of right. because you have others that just want to walk all over and stomp on it, you know? Everything under heaven is a sacred vessel and cannot be controlled. Trying to control leads to ruin. Trying to grasp, we lose. I don't want to control heaven. And I know I'm taking time to read this one particular verse, right? But I don't want to control heaven. I don't want to control anything. I'd like to have a little more control over things that happen to me in my life. I think I'm a good person, but sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes bad things happen to good people because others might need you to be a teacher. Because they wouldn't learn any other way, you know? And I'm not saying I'm meant to be a teacher, you know? Give me a break, dude. Allow your life to unfold naturally. There's a hard one for me and for everyone. We're supposed to eliminate fear and worry and doubt. And that's great, and that's easy, whatever. But when it comes to, I'm about to get on a bus again, and I don't have a place to stay yet, and I've had bad experiences being out on the streets, I am a little worried. Maybe I guess I've got a long way to go. Outside of 3,000 miles. Know that it too is a vessel of perfection. That's life. Life is a vessel of perfection. Life is truly outstanding. It might be with its crappy moments, but even still, man, I don't think so. But I do. Life is a blessing. Life is a gift. It is an honor for someone trapped in a human shell, being called a human. It's an honor to have the experience of being alive. A lot of us take it for granted because we're so consumed within what we perceive as our daily lives that we just kind of forget who we really are as a human. Just as you breathe in and breathe out, there is a time for being ahead and a time for being behind, a time for being in motion and a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous and a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe and a time for being in danger. Amen to that, brother. But I don't think the human soul is ever at rest, while our bodies are, because I don't think our bodies are capable of keeping up with the soul. The human body blows me away. Floors me. I encourage anyone and everyone to take medical classes, be it human biology, do things like, anatomy and physiology, and, you'll learn a lot. But then also when you have these types of influences coming into you and you've done medical classes, you understand how the human body works. You're also then left with questions, such as, our human body has cells and neurons and everything, right? Did you know they spark with light when they function properly? Our atoms and neurons glow. Understanding that our flesh is just a bunch of mesh, like fabric, woven. How we're able to hold liquid is pretty impressive. Why doesn't it just seep out? But understanding that we also, with our eyes, and maybe it's only with our third, and transcends down into the other two, we are able to see an aura. Why don't we glow brighter? If we have the ability to raise our frequencies, because we are vibratory presences, we are a frequency manifested into a fleshing form. Why don't we glow more than what we do? If our whole body is having little sparks of light, why is it that we don't have like a stereotypical image of like a God presence and a being walking into the door? You know what I mean? Like movies where something glows and it's so bright, you know? Why don't we have that? Can we? And if we can increase our frequency just by our influences around us and our minds and everything, we can transcend out of darker woe is me or, you know, screw you, whatever, and move forward into I'm going to be better than I was the day before. I am going to live a better path in life. I am going to, you know what I mean? Positive things. And then having moments with music. Now, that's one of the 7 sciences I've mentioned before. You know, it's very Masonic. There's things that I know of with sound and with emotions that alter the water in our body. Because I know most of you all know, you might not know the actual percentage, but it's kind of like saying, well, we all know we're mostly water as far as our bodily fluids. Sound and emotion have a glorious or sickening result. Gratitude and love and positive sounds like solfeggio frequencies, you know, hearing or repeating things like Om or Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, things of positive, emotions of positive, music of positive frequencies alter our bodies, kind of like making snowflakes. They create beautiful works of art within the water in our body. You can heal your body like that. You can destroy your body like that. Just how much power can we achieve as a human species? Understanding all of these little things, putting them together. And I don't mean power for way of negativity, but is there actually a way that we can bring about more God-realized power, bring that presence more into our beings? Is there a way that we can make our bodies glow so bright you walk into a room and people have to put shades on? Is there actually a way that I can walk down a long hallway lined with candles and actually light the candles walking by them? Or go, and poof, a candle lights in flames. I think that would be pretty rad, man. Can we use that for our good? For the benefit of mankind and the human species, and like, can we use that for the planet and beyond? Can we use that to die while we're still alive? And if you don't understand that part, it comes from various things, but I first heard that out of Wayne Dyer's mouth. So, brush up on Wayne. If you don't know much about what he said and covered, oh, it's the church bell across the street. I'm like, what is that noise, dude? Was that a sign? We have the ability to create, and it's usually when negativity's around and manifesting a little too much, things that people like to refer to as a poltergeist. Can I use my human body and brain to call forth a God presence? Can I call God down to speak to me in human looking form? Because I don't think we're all ready to comprehend what our source really looks like. And if we can, just what are we capable of achieving? I don't want to look at that and start running off into thoughts of, well, some people. I'd like to use that, knowing we are all, as a human being, we're spirits living a human life versus humans with a spirit. I'd like to know what we can do with that power for the greater good. I spent a long time meditating, like I've said, which did in turn result in eating a whole lot less, and I thought I had a food disorder, and it turns out I don't, but through the meditations, I really wanted to, and I kept presenting it to when I would, that I want to live a God-realized life. I want to walk the same path, if I could, that God would, if God were in me. Is that how I ended up homeless? But then as I'm laying there last night, and I know I'm taking a detour from this, but as I'm laying there last night, I'm realizing I met people that I probably wouldn't have had it not been for being homeless. I have met a few homeless people on the streets as well that have shown me God is still in them. Anyway, the last part here, just like 2 sentences or whatever, it's actually 1 sentence. To the sage, all of life is a movement towards perfection. So what need has he for the excessive, the extravagant, or the extreme? I don't need to live a decent life, but I'd like to. I don't need to have a home but I'd like a nice one. I don't see any problem with wanting to have a nice life and nice things. You're not taking them with you when you go. There's no need to be that dense in the head that you need to throw that in my face. Well, you can't take... Yeah, I get it, dude. Let's move on to the rest of the conversation. But at the same time, I don't think I need to be homeless in order to be a decent person. And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to have a nice life and have nice things. Instead of just having a box to stay in, a cardboard box, why wouldn't you want a nice house, man? Now the 30th verse. One who would guide a leader of men in the uses of life will warn him against the use of arms for conquest. Weapons often turn upon the wielder. Where armies settle, nature offers nothing but briars and thorns. After a great... Let me pause there, because that's just giving me a thought in my head. When I was growing up, and this has nothing to do with the Tao, but when I was growing up, speaking of briars and thorns, I actually was able to be read, because I didn't have this book to read to myself, it was read for me, to me, about Brer Rabbit. And I understood that this is connected with Germany. If any of you have a copy of Brer Rabbit, and you really don't care if someone has it or not, you're okay with letting it go, will you reach out to me? Let me know you have one of those copies, even if it's in German, dude. I'd really like I'd like to have a copy of Brer Rabbit, you know? And as horrible as that is, you know, with Tar Baby and everything, dude, that was a really sweet book when I was a kid. I just saw Briars and I'm like, whoa. Now I don't think of ice cream. I think of Brer Rabbit. You know, like, hello? I love Brer Rabbit. I actually really loved Brer Rabbit as a kid. Do you think that was one of the moments that I could look back on and say, oh, that kind of pieces into, and that kind of helped manifest into wanting to be the Easter Bunny, the Grand Rabbit for the children's hospitals? Anyway, after a great battle has been fought, the land is cursed, the crops fail, the earth lies stripped of its motherhood. I don't really think crops are gonna fail after you've got like a war going on. I don't think land is cursed. Now I will say, like Gettysburg, I believe there's a lot of spirits that are there that have, I mean, a lot of people died there. But there are trees, there are grass, there are flowers. That's not cursed. The earth lies stripped of its motherhood. No. Because even in a place like Gettysburg, for an example, you can see life. You can look down and see grass. Grass is living. It's a form of this mother that they're referring to. Motherhood. Yet we refer to God and, like that presence as being a male force. I think that's so that in our human minds we can comprehend there's more power. But I don't really know, dude. I don't believe land is cursed and crops will fail when there's flowers and grass and trees and everything in places like Gettysburg. And that's a fine example of a war zone and a battle, After you have attained your purpose, you must not parade your success. But I'm an actor, dude. You do a film, and even a year or so or decades down the road, you're still working on that one project you did all that time ago. And I know what people are going to want to say, like, oh, well, you're not supposed to, and you're not going to take it to your grave and all that mumbo jumbo. But really, when that comes to being an actor, after you have attained your purpose, and you must not parade your success. You must not boast of your ability. You must not feel proud. You must rather regret that you have had not been able to prevent the war. But when it comes to me and being an entertainer, dude, I am proud of what I've done. I mean, I grew up 3,000 miles away from Hollywood. I never thought I'd have that much of a blessing in my life to be an actor in Hollywood. You know what I mean? My whole family, like I've said before, all of my family, let alone some of the friends that I had left at that point, all thought I would move to LA and I'd be dead by that weekend with a needle in my arm in an alleyway with a bottle of Jack Daniels next to me. And here I just kind of fell into making movies and everything and, doing the whole route of entertaining and professionally, because I'd always done that stuff as a kid growing up, theater or something, right? Being on stage with plays and chorus, band. But I didn't grow up in Hollywood, but I didn't go to LA and die in an alley that next day or whatever with a needle and bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm proud of doing these things. And if you want to slam on me or tell me how much more growing I need to grow, you go for it, dude. Have fun with it. You must never think of conquering others by force. At that rate, I think you're just in a whirlwind of panic, and what you're really trying to control is not others as much as you're trying to have a little more control with your own life, and you're feeling as though you don't have very much control over things. Whatever strains with force will soon decay. Think about that related to what I just said. It is not attuned to the way. Not being attuned to the way, its end comes all too soon. Think about this. No, don't. I won't say that out loud. No. So we're already, getting pretty long. Let me just read this last one here and I'll do it real quick. Sorry. The 31st verse. Weapons are the tools of violence. Not always, dude. You can use them for good. I can use a saw and a knife and all kinds of things to build a log cabin to house homeless. All decent men detest them. Therefore, followers of the Tao never use them. I am following the Tao. But, in way of Freemasonry, we have tools, our working tools, like I've mentioned, and we apply them to ourselves to be a better person. You take what they're supposed to represent and apply it to yourself. So with this, I get what Lasu is saying. But when it comes to masonry and those tools, they're not used for violence. Even though one was for killing Hamra Mabif and, come on. Arms serve evil. They are the tools of those who oppose wise rule. Use them only as a last resort. For peace and quiet are dearest to the decent man's heart. Then that must tell me a lot about myself, because I can't handle being around all kinds of screaming unless it's a concert. Come on, man. I like peace and harmony. I like meditating 24 hours a day. I would rather spend my day in a meditated bliss, even going about my day making a cup of coffee or something, than I would in a position of being around complete chaos of just screaming and fighting and, all of that, you know what I mean? And I don't really know anyone who wouldn't want to, And to him, even a victory is no cause for rejoicing. He who thinks triumph beautifully is one who will, or with a will to kill. And one with a will to kill shall never prevail upon the world. That's not entirely so. But I do think their time is running short at that point. I mean, how many people do you know that are killers? Or dictators or whatever? You know world history. You know some of the names that I'm thinking of without having to mention them. Once they started on that path, man, it was like, okay, your time's gonna be coming up. You've just started your clock, and there you go, buddy. It is a good sign when man's higher nature comes forward. A bad sign when his lower nature comes forward. Positive versus negative, and it's all a domino effect, man. 17 seconds of negative breeds more. Or 17 seconds of positivity breeds more. You just take your pick. I'm not going to condemn you for wanting it to be negative, but I'm going to go the other way, dude. While the slaughter, shout out, I love slaughter. And thank you, Vinnie Vincent, for getting those two boys together. And on that note, I didn't get to see in person. I saw it on YouTube. As a metalhead, before I finish this last little touch here, I did see Vinnie Vincent. I have heard all the things over the years. And I did see Vinnie Vincent from, a month or so ago, right? So what if Vinnie Vincent actually is transitioning or has already to a woman or whether that's true or not. It doesn't matter. Why I was asked to paint my nails. I'm a metalhead. And let's just, pausing for a moment again, I know. Let's just say all the rumors surrounding Vinnie Vincent were all true, and that he's not ready to say anything, that he is no longer he. What is that to you, dude? Does that take anything away from who he really is as a person? No. Now, out of being human and all the good that he's done and so on with music and leaving a stamp on music and everything, no matter what you want to say, and as you know, I'm not really a huge Kiss fan. I never have. I think their music sucks. I want to rock and roll all night and party all day and all that. I mean, like, give me a break, dude. I'd rather listen to Slaughter, Up All Night, Sleep All Day, versus that Kiss song, you know? I like the guitar players out of Kiss. But that band has left its mark on music forever. You know what I mean? So, at that rate, if Vinnie Vincent is now, and I've said it just for not knowing, what if it is like now Vanessa instead of Vincent or Vinny? So what, dude? Let him, if that really is true, wanting to be a girl, you know? Who are we to judge? Who are we to say anything negative at all? And if you're a die-hard Kiss fan and you loved what Vinnie Vincent had done, it shouldn't matter if Vinnie wanted to be Vinnie Vincent or Vanessa Vincent. I've never been a Kiss fan, but I've been a fan of their guitar players after Ace. And I know that's caused a lot of problems for people. A lot of people have given me crap because, for one, I never was a huge Kiss fan as a metalhead. And two, that I really don't care for Ace and his guitar playing. But Ace Frehley, as a musician, is no Jason Becker. But you were pretty decent in what you've done. You made your stamp. There you go. Slaughter. That one word flashed to me in Slaughter. I got to see Slaughter once. They rocked. Oh my god. Like, oh my god. If you've yet to see the band Slaughter perform, and I would like to see Vinnie Vincent too, don't get me wrong. But if you've yet to see Slaughter, dude, play their tapes, CDs, and then go see their show. Whoa. And I went with two of my Masonic brothers. We had a bonding moment. That was great. But seeing this Slaughter, just, you know, I'm like, whoa, Slaughter. I did see the whole Vinnie Vincent thing, you know, from earlier this year. Now, I know I've been having a lot of issues, which is probably why I subconsciously came out with this and saying all of this for a brief, you know, because I do get slack for painting my nails. Watch the video why. It's not about attracting someone. It's about being there for someone that I love deeply, that's no longer with us and wanted me to use a platform for good. But I will say, with seeing the word slaughter, it just instantly clicks to me in metal. Vinnie Vincent, I actually really like your music a lot. I really liked a lot of what you've done on your own. Not with Kiss, though, because I don't really care for Kiss. Like, that's not the kind of music that I really got into. As a musician, I mean, it's like, hello, if you're into, like, Wailing Jennings or something, or, Barbra Streisand or something, run it up, buddy. Loved it. But that doesn't mean I'm a diehard fan, and I don't have to be. But I can appreciate your passion for being a diehard fan of. So don't give me slack for being not the biggest Kiss fan on earth. I'm also not a fan of Rush. But I will say, after hearing all of those rumors, all of these years, that, oh, Vinny went away and wants to be a girl. And then having my moment with PJ. Rest in peace, buddy. I love you. I think if that really is true, hopefully Vinnie Vincent would come out and say something at some point and address it and maybe give his new name if that's the way, he wants to be referred to, like PJ wanted to be, Kylie Ann. I would support you more than I ever did before. I would be a bigger fan of Vanessa, whatever it were to be, than I ever was with Kiss or, even Vinnie Vincent, Invasion, Just don't give up on music, dude. I think you're really talented. I think the world over, you can walk anywhere you want, and you've got a lot of fans. I love you. Now this last sentence, and I'll pause here. With the slaughter of multitudes, we have grief and sorrow. Every victory is a funeral. When you win a war, you celebrate by mourning. Isn't that true? Sadly. Let me read one more, dude. 32nd verse. The eternal Tao has no name. Although simple and subtle, no one in the world can master it. If kings and lords could harness them, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would rejoice with the dripping of sweet dew. Everyone would live in harmony. Can you imagine that? Not by official decree, but by their own goodness, of their own free will and accord. And on that note, God bless Freemasonry. So anyway, once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. Know when to stop. Know when reason sets limits to avoid peril. Rivers and streams are born of the ocean, and all creation is born of the Tao. Just as all water flows back to become the ocean, all creation flows back to become the Tao, which is a great way. Flow like water. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream of consciousness. It's easier to go with the flow than it is to go against it. I hope all of you have a great day and an even better night than you ever thought was even possible for you. And do something you love, man. I think if we all take a few moments out of our day and just let go of all the stress and all the worry, anxieties, and just take a few moments to, and I say it like this, just rock out, man. Pop in your favorite tune and just rock out. You're letting go of all kinds of negativity, and you're increasing your vibration, your frequency, by being in positivity. You're also decreasing it by being in negativity. And negativity breeds negativity, domino effect. Positivity breeds positivity. Go with the flow, not against it. Be like those streams and travel back into the ocean. We're all but just a drop of water as compared to this giant body. God bless you. Namaste.